Hello, good evening, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with me, your host Owen. Channel that brings you your team every single day, guys. Welcome along, welcome to Aldo, guys. We are currently running. We're going to be running polls throughout the night about our players. So please, obviously, vote in those polls. So the poll we've got running at this moment in time is: should John Lundstram be given a new contract? Now, I know we've got 6 games left. I know there are 6 massive games, and we'll be looking ahead a bit more on the podcast on Thursday night, along with your Q&A to that game. We'll also be looking ahead, obviously, on Saturday as well, and obviously then doing the live stream on Sunday. So we'll be bringing out news videos throughout the week. So tonight on the podcast, I want to do something a little bit different instead of talking about the performances or talking about the upcoming games. Hi, Cabby, how you doing, buddy? I wanted to talk a little bit about the players who are out of contract. I wanted to talk about the players who are on loan, the players who are on loan to us, and the players that we've sent out on loan. Who do we keep? Who goes? Who stays? What are your views? What are your opinions? You know, I sat down before the pod, evening to Stuart. How you doing, buddy? And I actually listed all the players that are so the players that are are on loan, the players that are out of contract. The players that are out of contract next season at the end of the summer, 2025, so that's 12 months left on their deal at the end of this year. So again, something needs to be decided about them, so we're not in a situation where they just walk. And then obviously the players who are on loan from us. Sarah, hi Sarah, how you doing? New name, Island for the Prods, and new name as well. Evening all. Welcome, guys. So yeah, please obviously vote in the poll. At this moment in time, there is, like I said, there is a poll ongoing. For John Lundstram. So we're running out whilst we talk about John Lundstram. I will also be switching to other people as well, and talking about other people and their contracts too. There's a few polls I'm going to run tonight, so please obviously vote in them. So altogether, at the end of this season, this is the situation we are facing, and we're going to talk about these players tonight. So the players that we have on loan at this moment in time at the club who we need to make decisions on are Fabio Silva, obviously, who is just here on loan, no option to buy. Abdallah Sima is just on loan. There is no option to buy. Cortes is here on loan with an option to buy of 2.5 million, not 4.5, as Ibrox Noise was reporting on Facebook earlier and on their website. And Mohamed Diamande, who is here on loan, but he is here with an obligation to buy. So that's kind of different. We kind of can't get out of that one. Players out of contract at the end of this season are John Lundstram, Borna Barisic, Kemar Roof, Ryan Jack, Leon Balogun, and John McLaughlin. Players out of contract next season, at the end of next season, so with 12 months left only on their deal. Now, I'm going to mention them at the end of the pod because I want to get your opinions on them, because decisions need to be taken this summer, realistically, with these players. Evening, Stephen. How you doing, buddy? So Tom Lawrence is out of contract next summer. Scott Wright is, Robbie McCrory is, Alex Lowry is, and Kieran Wright is. So both the Wrights are out of contract next summer. The players who are out on loan from us, who again we have decisions to make whether we bring them back and give them a role or whether we allow them to leave. Evening, John. How you doing, buddy? Are Yanis Hagi, who's on loan at Alaves, Sam Lammers, who's on loan at Utrecht, Sifu, who's on loan at one of the teams in Brazil, who's I think it's Internacional. Adam Devine, who is on loan at Motherwell, and Ben Williamson, who is on loan as well. I must admit that was a surprise to me. Okay, so guys, remember there's a poll ongoing at this moment in time. Currently, 15% of you think that Lunny should get a deal. 85% of you don't think Lunny should get a new deal. Interesting, very, very interesting. Okay, so let's talk. Obviously, John Lundstram first. So where are we at with John Lundstram now? For me, John Lundstram has been very frustrating this season. His season can kind of be split into 3 parts at the moment in time. I'm hoping that it will be split into 4 parts as we move towards the end of the season. So let's talk John Lundstram. That's why the poll's running. Let's talk Lunny. So at the start of the season under Michael Beale, I think we can all agree Lunny was absolutely useless. He was about as much use as a asthmatic donkey with one leg. Then Philippe Clement came in, and Clement did something to him. I don't know what he did to him, but he seemed to be a player reborn, a player with new vigor and new style, just a different John Lundstram, more like the Europa League run John Lundstram, more like the Silky Scouser John Lundstram, more like the John Lundstram is the greatest on earth John Lundstram, that one. And then in recent weeks, he's kind of dropped off again and gone back to being kind of very average John Lundstram. The John Lundstram that plays a lot of sideways balls, that slows the play down, that gives the ball away, that dodgy tackles people, that gets into trouble, that puts the team in the shit. So Lundstram is a difficult one. Stuart says in the live chat, after spending $6 million for Danilo to be out all season, I think it's a risk to sign Sima at the end of the season with his injury record this season. Interesting point there from Stuart. We are going to come to Sima, Stuart. So hold fire for a minute on Sima. So Lundstram, guys, I want to know what your opinions are. So any opinions on Lunny, get them in the live chat. I want to bring them up at the moment. 81% say no to a deal. 19% say yes. Now, if you'd asked me 6 weeks ago, should John Lundstram get a new contract? I would say yes, absolutely, definitely, 100% agree. Give him a new contract. But he seems to have slipped back into his bad old ways. And he seems to have gone back to doing what we feared John Lundstram would do, which is purple patch John Lundstram, isn't it? So awful, purple patch, awful, and he might have another purple patch again. So is he too inconsistent to give a new deal to? Now, the rumours as well about the 30 grand a week, 3-year deal that he wants. If that is the case, then I honestly think it's a no thank you, John Lundstram. Goodbye, I'll see you later. He's not worth a 3-year deal. He's not worth 30 grand a week. You know, at a time when we probably aren't going to have a massive amount of money to spend in the summer, we need to kind of be very careful what we do with our money. And I think splurging 30 grand a week on a player that is heading towards the wrong side of 30 is not a good idea at all. Anton D says, I've been seeing the talk about Shankland again. Do you think we should be shopping Roof and Lammers and getting both Shanks and Miovski? Mate, I think there's absolutely zero chance of getting Shankland and Miovski. Miovski's price tag is around 8 million, apparently, which I think is way out of Rangers' reach at this moment in time. Shankland, I think you can probably pick up for about 2 to 3 million. I cannot see us spending 11 million pounds on centre forwards, given the fact that we might want to re-sign Sima, that we've got money to the next instalment of the Dio payment to pay, 2.5 million on Cortes possibly. We need 2 new centre backs. We need a new left back. I just can't see them splurging 11 million pounds on Shanks and Miovski. I think Miovski is rapidly moving out of Rangers' price range. Like I said, the price that I saw today was 8 million pounds for Miovski, and if that is the case, can't see it. Stuart says, why give Lunny a new contract when there's hungrier, fitter Sterling made for his position? Stuart, I agree. Now, look, like I said, I'm mixed on this one. At the start of the season, I'd have said no chance. Mid-season, towards and then up until the last 4-5 weeks, I'd have said yes, give him a new contract. He's been brilliant. He's been man of the match in a lot of games. He's been fantastic. You know, even in Europe, he played well. But then in recent times, I've kind of looked at it and thought, no, I don't think so. CGM, welcome back, CGM. Lovely to have you back in the live chat. Says giving Lundstram a new deal is part of where does Clermont see Sterling playing in the long term. If it's in midfield, that's bad news for Lundstram. If it's at right back, that's bad news for Tav. CGM, that's a fantastic point. And that's kind of the thing we're looking at. You know, we've got Dio. We've got Dio is what Dio is coming. That's the fact. Dio is on an obligation, not an option, an obligation to buy. So we are going to buy Dio over. I think it's 4 years. We will pay. Though Dio is effectively on tick, isn't he? He's on a hire purchase agreement. So we are going to hire him for 4 years and pay him off over 4 years, which is kind of like buying a washing machine. Dio, the washing machine. Sterling is very good in midfield. You've got Tom Lawrence can play there, but he's out of contract in 2025. You've got a possibility, you know, Connor Barron that I spoke about earlier is another one. So if we're bringing these players in, Nicholas Raskin, what's the future hold for him? If he's staying, that's another one. So do we really need Lundstram and do we need to be giving him a new contract? Stuart says Sterling and Dio should be our midfield 2 going forward. Anton D says Sterling is a must start every game. I've got to agree with that, Anton. Sterling has been absolutely fabulous the last few games, absolutely brilliant, and 100%. If the right offer comes in for Butland, do you cash in or keep? John Lammy, that is a brilliant question. That's almost a podcast on itself. I think the situation with Butland is if a bid of about 20 million comes in for him, you've got to kind of take it. I don't want to see the board accept 10 to 15 million. I think that's derisory. But if we get someone bid 20 million pounds for him, I think you've kind of got to consider it, because if we don't win the league, we're not going to get the Champions League money. Well, we might get the Champions League money, but you can't guarantee it because you've got to go through 2 qualifying rounds to get there. So it's 2 this year, 3 next year. So you've got to kind of bring in some money from somewhere. And the fact we're losing 6 players possibly out of contract to, again, no money coming in, thanks to the fact that Stuart Robertson and Ross Wilson are absolutely fucking useless. You know, we need to bring money in somehow. We really do. On Rangers Radio, but can't miss this. Lol. Hello, Owen. Hello. How you doing, buddy? Lundstram, no deal, says Aldo. Stuart. CGM says Sterling, Raskin, Diamande, a 3 would probably work better than many of the combinations we've seen this season. Absolutely. 100% agree, CGM. That would be a dynamic midfield. It really would. Sterling holding, Raskin as going forward, Diamande going forward, and them all dropping back in. I think that would be a really good midfield. Johnson's agreed, Owen, no less than 20 mil for Butland. Stuart says, what do you think is going to happen with Raskin next season? Can't get a game, to be honest. I don't know. I think that's an interesting question, Stuart. I think we keep him. I think we give him a chance over the next few games to prove himself. At the end of these 6 games, he doesn't prove himself, then maybe we do look to move him on in the summer. Leon Balogun should start the next 6 games instead of Connor Goldson. Stephen Moorhead, I agree 100%. What has happened to this guy, Raskin? I know he was injured, but come on, it's going on forever. I mean, he was back on Sunday, John, so let's hope that he can build on that performance. So, John Lundstram, guys, I am saying no deal for John Lundstram, no new contract for John Lundstram. The poll says 79% say no new deal for John Lundstram, 21% say yes to a new deal for Lundstram. So it looks like you guys don't want to give a new deal to John Lundstram. Okay, we're going to end that poll. We're going to start a new poll now as we talk about our next player, okay? Let's get our next player out there. So the next player I want to talk about is Leon Balogun, right? So the poll's going up now, guys. Get voting in the poll. John Lammy, that is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. That's so kind. Thank you. What have we got here? We've got Aldo says Balogun solid, Suter bit dodgy. I mean, the thing with Suter, mate, is he's a good defender, but he has got a mistake in him. He does sort of go through one mistake per game, doesn't he? So yeah, I agree. You know, he can be a bit dodge. And Ben Davis, surely he's got to leave at the end of the season. Yeah, I think he is, but he's under contract until 2026. So he will have to be a sale. I'm trying to concentrate on players who are out of contract today. Don't want Lundstram too hot and cold, says John. CGM says we will sell one major asset this summer. For me, it's Ridvan, given his injury record. It's an interesting one from CGM. The only thing I'd say on that, CGM, is I think if a Premier League club comes in with a £20 million bid for Jack Butland, number one, I think Jack will want to go back down south because I don't think he wants to play for England. And number two, I can't see the Rangers board turning down 20 million. I was surprised on Sunday. Suter still on the left. Balogun was on the right. Now, CGM, I heard a theory about this. I don't know how true this theory is, but the theory I heard was that it's so if Goldson does come back in, Suter is not going to be messed around in terms of the side of the defence that he's playing. That's what I heard. Don't know how true that is. Okay, so Leon Balogun. What do we do with Leon Balogun? Now, for me, Leon Balogun has probably been our best defender this season. When he's played, I mean, okay, there was that one mistake at when he got sent off at Parkhead. Bit of a bad decision there. He will, of course, be 36th on the 28th of June. So he'll be 36 on the 28th of June. So he'll be 36 next season. So the poll that's currently running, guys, in the live chat now is, do we give Leon Balogun a new deal? So can you vote in that poll for me? And we'll obviously discuss the results at the end. John's don't like Suter, as you say, too prone to errors and switching off. I think it's only one error per game that he's kind of prone to, though. That's the thing, isn't it, mate? So Balogun, let's get to Balogun. Now, what do we think about Leon Balogun, guys? Do you see the report about Standard Liège goalie Arnaud Bodard? I mean, what, that we're interested in Bodard? I think that's an option, John, if Butland does go in the summer. I think there's going to be a possibility even of McCrory moving on. He's out of contract in 2025, so we've got a decision to make on McCrory. And if Robbie wants guaranteed first team football, is he going to get it here? Probably not. I would definitely keep Balogun at a year extension for me, says John Lammy. And Balogun is a perfect squad player, good around the club, and wise is a wise head, says CGM55. Look, I like Big Leon. I've got to say, when he was signed back in the summer, I was a bit dubious. I was a little bit dubious, okay, as to why we were signing him. You know, especially when it emerged that Leon King wasn't as seriously injured as was first reported. So for me, it was a bit like, why are we signing Balogun back? He's 35. Why are we bringing him back? But he's been fantastic this season. Big Leon doesn't look to have lost any pace. His communication is excellent. The way he organises the back four is excellent. He's a leader. And I agree. I think he'd make a good, with CGM, that he'd make an excellent squad player. So I would agree with CGM. I would give with John, I'd give Balogun a year extension on his deal. Okay. I would definitely bring Balogun back next season. 100% bring him back. Stuart says, to be honest, none of the defenders are good enough. They've all got a mistake in them. Balogun is the best centre back we have, and we are going to make big changes there. Makes sense to keep him. So yes, Stuart, I agree. I think Balogun is the one we do keep hold of. So for me, I'd be keeping Balogun on a 1 year extension, offering him a 1 year deal for me. So yeah. Like I said, I've kind of taken Diomande out of this discussion tonight because he is staying, whether we want him to or not, and we do want him to. He is a class act. So let's move off from Dio. Question here from Anton D says, what do you think will happen with Cortes at the end of the season? That's an excellent question. So, guys, what would we do? We'll get to the Cortes situation in a minute, and I'll put that up as a poll in a minute. So the option to buy is 2.5 mil, okay? So the option to buy is 2.5, not £2.50 as I've just written down there. That'd be nice if it was just £2.50, wouldn't it? Is 2.5 mil option. Okay, that's the option to buy on old Oscar Cortes. Okay, so that's going to be the next question we put up in a minute. We've got a comment in the live chat as well. Let's get the comment up. Blue Nose says, I can remember being furious with Leon the night we lost to Malmo. Cholak made him look stupid that night. Chelsea 1-0 down to Arsenal. Astrid Wet will be crying. Do you think we'll still be after the Brazilian left back whose name I can't spell? That's Hefte, mate. Hefte, I'll bring him up in there. Aldo, the only issue with this one is that he would cost us about £8 million, and I can't see us spending £8 million on a striker. I don't think we've got that sort of money. Not if we're going to buy Sima for £6 For £2.5 million, he's a bargain. So that's the option, right? Let's have a quick look at the poll. The poll that we ran earlier. Would you give Big Leon a new deal? Every single 100%, 100% say that you would sign Big Leon to a new contract. Right, let's start a new poll. Okay, well, this time we're going to discuss Oscar a little bit out of kilter. It's not the way I wanted to go, but because Anton asked the question, we're going to do it. We're going to ask this one. Okay, so here's the next polls going up now. Okay, here's the next poll. So the next poll is Oscar Cortes, sign or not? That's the next question in the poll. Okay, Hefte was the name. No problems. P. Curry, happy to have you. CGM says 2.5 million, then absolutely take Cortes. Leon, get him signed, says P. Curry. 2.5 million bargain for Cortes. Right, so the option to buy is 2.5 million. Cortes is obviously currently injured. Philippe Clement says he will be back at the end of the season. So I honestly think, for me, yes, John, we can find our own Macedonian striker for a few £100,000. Let's hope so anyway, buddy. Let's hope so. So for me personally, Rosie, hey, it's signed. So yeah, Cortes, I would sign Cortes. The reasons I'd sign Cortes are because, number one, he's fast. Number two, he's direct. Number three, he takes his man on. Number four, he's an out-and-out winger. Number five, he can play left and right-hand side. I can't see any downside with the signing of Oscar Cortes. Now, well, actually, no, I tell a lie. I can see a downside, and this is the downside I can see. I would say yes, sign Cortes, but injuries have plagued us. Now, this is the one worry. So, you know, yes, that's right, Ewan. He has reneged on his deal, and Hefte will not be coming in the summer. So we are left looking for a new left back. It will not be his Smile either. He's agreed to join Feyenoord in the summer. Apparently, that's what I've heard. So Cortes, you know, I would sign him. I know he's got this injury, but I think that was largely down to that hideous pitch that we played on at Kilmarnock. So, you know what, I'd say Cortes, yeah, loves a shot. We don't have that much. He does love a shot from outside the area. He's a bit like Tom Lawrence from that aspect. John, I wouldn't agree with that actually on his stats. There's only was it 3 seasons or something that Morelos has been better than Dessa's stats. If you go back and look at them, it was on the video this morning, John. Check it out. Yeah, so I would sign Cortes. He's fast, he's quick, he's direct. You know, he's a good player, and he's the sort of player we need. I mean, We haven't had an proper out-and-out winger since Daniel Candeas. So he was the sort of person I would love to see in this team. So I think, 2.5 million for him is an absolute bargain for a player who's young, who's quick, who's direct, who's skillful. And again, he's another player that, I think he's 20, 21 years old. Give it 5 years time or 4 years time, however long the contract's for. We're going to flip him for 10 million, 15 million. So you're making a substantial profit on that 2.5 million. So personally, I would definitely re-sign him. David P says, Cortes going out of the team directly correlates with our loss in form. He gave us vital balance and could beat him. And David, spot on, buddy. I mean, with Sima's injury, he came back in and he kind of gave us that bit that Sima gave us on the left-hand side. I mean, can you imagine if now, going into these last 6 games, or even in that Old Firm game, we'd had Sima right and Cortes left and Campbell in the middle. Can you imagine the damage that would have done? So for me, I'd be signing him. Dessa's done well, but good backup for next season. But will he want to be the main striker? Good question. Cortes shows why he's better than Matondo and Wright in the few games he's played. CGM, spot on, mate, because he's fast, he's direct, he takes players on, he goes past players, he's not afraid to have a dig. He's everything that Wright and Matondo aren't. And he's consistent. He's a consistent player. He will consistently run at people, consistently take people on, consistently go past people. So for me, I am just going to say with that one, keep him. So the present deal on the Cortes thing is 90% say yes to sign Cortes and no is 5%. It's 95 to 5%. Keep getting your votes in before we move on. Stuart says, although sell the Neo and don't think any of them are good enough to score 25 goals in a season, says Stuart. Guys, we will discuss possible signings in another pod, don't we? We will get to that. I want to kind of concentrate today on the players who are out of contract and the players who are coming up for out of contract, and those players that are out on loan. What do we do with them? That's what I kind of want to focus on tonight. Blue Nose John says we need Ridvan back as the back four. We're all right for Sunday. You know what, Blue Nose? We have hugely missed Ridvan. I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. We do need that balance, and he does bring back balance. I tried to get a year loan for him with an option. That would be ideal, says David. It's whether Lawns would agree to another year's loan, or whether they want the money now. That's the question. I think that'd be down to the board. CGM says Danilo is a massive question mark for me next season. He is, because he's obviously had a very serious injury, and do players come back the same from a serious injury? At the end of the day, that is the worry, isn't it? That is the worry. So I'm going to end the poll now. 95% of you say yes to signing Oscar Cortes. 5% of you say no, don't sign Oscar Cortes. Okay, next poll that comes up. We're going to do our next poll. Okay, next poll is this one. So the next poll is going to go up. Now, it is the massive question, guys. Here we go. Next one. Ryan Jack. Do you give Ryan Jack a new contract or not? So we're going to move on to Ryan Jack. So Ryan Jack has a 1-year contract. How long does it take back for Danilo to get back to the player he was? Months easy, if he ever gets back to the player, Stuart, that he was. You often find that when players have had a serious injury, they don't always come back to the what they used to be. Rosie says no deal for Jack. Aldo says no deal for Jack. David says absolutely not for me. Look, I want to say one thing, right? I love Ryan Jack. I absolutely love Ryan Jack. I won't have a bad word said about him in terms of as a player. Yes, as an injury player, as an injury-prone player, you can say what you want about him. And John, you're right. I was exactly the same as you, buddy, on this one. Yeah, it pains me to say this. Look, Ryan Jack cannot have a new contract. Yes, Ryan Jack does make everyone around him look better. Yes, Ryan Jack is a very good footballer. Yes, when Ryan Jack plays, he covers for Tav really well. He drops into the back four really well. He makes Lundstram look better. He makes Raskin look better. One of Raskin's best games was when Ryan Jack played. Why? Because Raskin knew that Jack was covering. He could get forward. He didn't need to worry. Ryan Jack is a great player, a top player. But he's out injured yet again with a calf injury yet again. Now, some people have said, would you give him a new deal if he agrees to finish playing for Scotland? No, I still wouldn't give him a new contract because to me, he's just too injury prone. He just gets too often injured, and we need to be getting away from these players that are constantly sat in the stands, earning shed loads of money for doing nothing. And I hate saying this because I love Ryan Jack. I think Ryan Jack's great. And if Ryan Jack could stay fit or had stayed fit this season, I'd have said, yeah, give him a new contract as long as he agrees to stop playing for Scotland. So, yeah, I would have given him a new deal, but definitely not. CGM says you can't give Jack a new deal. You need to replace him with someone like Connor Barron. CGM, that's a fantastic shout. Jack will go to the Euros. His career will be done, says Stuart. I think you're right on that one. It's like buying a motor with 200,000 miles on the clock, but no. Sorry, but no, says P. Curry. Connor Barron should replace Ryan. I agree with that one. I would love to get Connor Barron. He is free as well. I love the player Jack was 5 years ago. Injuries effectively retired him at this point. David, I agree. I love him as well. He's been fantastic for us, but he can't be sentimental about it. Agree, we've got to get... And I think for too long, John, Rangers have been so sentimental with players and hung on to them for way, way too long. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. Good evening, Owen. Love Ryan Jack, but time for him to go, says Janet. Agreed. It's just that Ryan Jack is injury prone. That's my reason. I love the guy. I love him too, John. I absolutely love Ryan Jack. I think he's fantastic. And I would love to keep him. I'd love to be able to find some way to keep hold of Ryan Jack, but I just don't see it happening, guys. I don't see it happening. I agree with all the comments that are coming through in the live chat at the moment, you know, that he's too injury prone, that he gets injured all the time. I agree with this. And this is the issue. Like I said, if you keep him fit and then he agreed to not play for Scotland, then we keep him, but it ain't going to happen. And the poll's kind of reflecting that, isn't it? P. Curry says we need to move on and upwards. We do. We need a new start with these players. So, yeah, I agree. For Ryan, let's say Ryan Jack is a big no. Okay, next poll we're going to run when we discuss this is this one. This one will cause a stir in the live chat. I think the answer to this is obvious, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's do it. Okay, guys, here's the next one for you. Here's the next poll for you. It's running now. What have we got in this here? Blue Nose says Ryan Jack is such a quality player. It breaks my heart how much he's been injured. Me too, John. And I would have loved to have seen him finish his career at Ibrox. I'd love to see him get a game at the end of the season. I'd love to see him lift a trophy at the end of the season. But end of the day, Jack is on 8K a week, by the way. He's hardly going to drain the funds. I know Bluebells. I agree with that. But I just think that you're still going to spend $8,000 on someone who's going to spend 90% of the season sat in the stands. That's the issue with him. And I'd love to keep him. I'd love to keep Ryan Jack. Of course I would. I'd love to keep Ryan Jack. I think, you know, Ryan's a top player and he makes everyone look better around him. And I love Ryan Jack. I've got nothing negative other than the injury stuff. Nothing negative to say about Ryan as a player. You know, when he's on the park, he leads by example. He puts everything on the line. He's just a quality player. And I like Ryan. So yeah, I would keep him if he could stay fit. Okay. I thought this one would be obvious, to be honest with you. CGM, that's a shout. Pay as you play deal for Jack. It's whether he'd agree to it or not. That's the issue. I think the issue with that is that if another club comes in and offers him a 2-year deal with a weekly wage, is he going to take it? You know, Ryan has probably not earned enough money in his lifetime to never have to work again. So I think that's the issue there. I think Barron is the ideal replacement for Ryan Jack. Same with Roof, brilliant player, but he's never fit, says John. Borna threw in the towel months ago, has to go. Ryan is one of us, which we need more of in our team, says Blue Nose John. That's a point. Look, as I've said all along, when it comes to Ryan Jack, I'm kind of willing to kind of accept what Philippe Clement says. If Philippe Clement decides that he wants to keep Jack and give him a pay-as-you-play deal or whatever, then fair enough, keep him. But it's just the injuries with Jack that is really, really concerning me. Jack will be bankrupt on a deal like that. He never plays, says David. The Turkish side came out today claiming they've already agreed with the bottle job Borna, but says Believe. I think was that Trabzonspor, mate. Yeah, Borna Barisic for me is that's a no-brainer. It's a no. It's a definite no. You guys have voted overwhelmingly no in that poll, guys. It's a definite no on that one. 100% no on that one. 100%. Now, next two players, I'm not going to put a poll up when I discuss the next two players, but what I'm going to do is put a poll up for the player we're going to talk about in a minute. So I don't want to try and get a few more votes on this one. is Abdallah Sima. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about some other players who are out of contract at the moment. So, John, it's okay, buddy. Not a problem, mate. Not a problem. I swear as well. Don't worry. Barisic pisses me off as well. Don't worry. If Ridvan gets back, who sits in for Ridvan if injured again? We need a replacement. P. Curry, I think that's on the agenda. I think that's why originally we agreed that deal for Hefte. He has backed out of that deal now, so I think they will be looking for a left back come the summer. Maybe Doig back from Verona or wherever he is. Thinks Torino on loan at the moment. Maybe someone like him. I don't know. The other two players who are out of contract is John McLaughlin. I'd even forgot. You know what? I'd kind of forgotten how we even had John McLaughlin. So for me, bye-bye, John McLaughlin. We're going to work on the basis with Sima, by the way. When we come to on your vote for Sima, we're going to work on the basis that Sima is going to cost £6 to £7 million. Okay, that's what we're going to work on the basis of, guys. That he's going to cost us £6 to £7 million. That's what I'm seeing reported at the moment. Okay, I will have a video out in the morning on this one. So, but get your votes in, guys. Get your votes in on this one. So please get voting on this one. It's more split. So for me, McLaughlin's gone. The other one, obviously, out of contract at the end of the season is Kemar Roof. Look, Kemar Roof is a quality centre forward. He's a good finisher. He's always been a good finisher. He was a good finisher at Leeds. He was a good finisher at Anderlecht. He's been a good finisher for us. He was the top scorer during 55. But I think with his injury record, with the fact that he's always out injured, we've got to get rid of Roof. For me, goodbye, Roof. So there's 6 out of contract players, guys. You have voted overwhelmingly to get rid of all of them, even John Lundstram. So we're going to move on now to Abdallah Sima. Abdallah Sima. So Pico, he says, Sima, definitely love the guy. I love him too. Sima is good. I'd sign, says John. Depends heavily on the price for Sima. I wouldn't be blowing the majority of the budget on him. Like I said, we're going to work on 6 to 7 million. Get to hold on to Sima. He needs a full season, see how good he is. Yes, says Rosie. Stephen says that he would definitely sign Sima. Stuart says, love Sima, but my worry is he's been out half the season. We can't afford another injury hit season. We need more robust players. It's a big yes for Sima, says John. Roof, like Borna, was already checked out, says Blue Nose. Agreed. John says Roof needs to leave. Agreed. That's a tough one. Get our money back on Dessers and Lammers. I'd be getting Sima in, says David. So David wants to raise money first before signing him. Like Roof, but not really done much since he signed. Constantly injured, says Janet. I agree. I like Roof. I've got nothing against Kemar Roof. He's a nice guy. He's a top guy. He's a good finisher. But yeah, he's out injured. He's got to be gone at the end of this season. Abdallah Sima. Look, now this is a difficult one for me because, look, Abdallah Sima is a good player. He's a very, very good player. He's direct. He's quick. He scores goals. I think it's 16 goals he scored this season from out wide. You know, he's tall. He's good with his head, something a lot of our forwards aren't. So I personally, I love Sima. Sima's one of my favourite players. And they always say, never fall in love with a lone player. Unfortunately, I have fallen in love with Abdallah Sima. He's a great player. I love him to bits. But his injury history is a worry. I agree on that one. Now he's only going to have, 12 months left on his contract at the end of this season. I think he's got a contract in 2025. So Brighton are not going to be able to get an extortionate amount of money for him. Okay, so 6 to 7 million. If we can get him for 6 to 7 million, I'd take it. I'd go for it. I'd definitely go for it because he's another player. He's 21 years old. In 3-4 years' time, you're going to be able to sell him for 15, 16, 17 million pounds. You're going to make a big profit on this guy. And if Rangers are serious about the trading model, bringing the trading model in, this is the sort of guy we need to be signing for this trading model. He can play left wing. He can play right wing. He can play through the middle. He's an all-round player. He's one of those modern hybrid forwards who can play in a number of positions. So for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. If we can get him for 6 to 7 million, I would say we sign him. I suppose if you sell Hagi, Lammers and Matonda, you could get enough to pay for Sima. That's a big if, says CGM55. And we are going to get to Hagi and Lammers shortly. Is your granny worth 7 million? I don't know. Both mine are dead, so I don't know. Her scones, though, says P. Curry. Sell Lammers for 3 mil, Hagi for 4 million. Then we can get Sima. Get Stuart Henderson into Niels Coppen's office quick. His tracking back and attitude is top notch. David, that's a good point. That's a brilliant point. He is very good in terms of his team. He is a side over self, isn't he? He's a team before the individual kind of guy. He is a player that works hard for the team. So yeah, I would agree. I think the board know they can't afford Sima. That's why Cortes was signed. Interesting theory from Stuart there. Question, Sima or Kent, who's worth 6 or 7 million? If you could choose, Sima, that's a no-brainer, Janet. Let's be honest, Sima is 21. I think clubs will throw money for him. I don't think they necessarily will, given how much he's been injured this season. That's one thing that's possible. Why did we not go for Shankland, I wonder, says John? Because there was no money in January, John. As I said on the video the other day, Clement said there was no budget in January. He said there was no budget in January. We were never going to be able to afford £3 million for Lawrence Shankland. I think Sima just brings so much to this team. He brings a direct running style. He tracks back. I mean, he's even been great on the right. I mean, when he's played on the right, when he's come back from injury, he's done fantastic covering. He scored against Celtic. For me, Sima is a no-brainer for me. Absolute no-brainer for me. I would definitely be getting Sima back in. So the poll is 83% of you say yes to Sima. 17% of you say no to Abdallah. I'll be running a community poll on this as well. You on this for a video coming up very shortly. Okay, let's move it along a little bit now. So let's get on to Fabio Silva. My next poll I'm going to set up is going to be for the next player, not for Silva. We are going to talk Silva in a minute, but I'm going to set a different poll for the next player, which is going to be on Yanis Hagi. Okay, that's my next poll will be about Yanis Hagi. Okay, so the question is for the Hagi poll, Yanis Hagi, give him a chance next season. Okay. Let's put that poll up. Okay, let's talk Silva. Let's talk Fabio Silva. Kenneth Elliott says, buy Sima 5.5 million, 25% sell on. That's a good shout, Kenneth. Get Kenneth in Neil's Coppen's office as well. Jason Hines says, keep Sima for sure. Agree. Janet says, we paid 7 million for Kent. Sima is a no-brainer compared to that, what we paid for Kent. That's a good point, Janet. That's an excellent point. If you're spending 7 million on Ryan Kent, then I'd be spending 7 million on it. Scott Mackay, can we get a shout out to the Rangers Journal podcast? We need subs, mate. Scott Mackay, big shout out. Rangers Journal, brand new podcast. Scott, are you free tomorrow night? If you want to come on a pod Thursday night, buddy, not tomorrow night, Thursday night, buddy, give me a shout and you can come on and plug away on the Rangers Journal. But yeah, guys, can you all check out the Rangers Journal? It's a new podcast on YouTube. Scott Mackay, who's been on this channel a few times. I've seen Scott McPike on there. I've seen a number of people. I'm still waiting for my invite, Scott. I haven't found my invite yet. Where's my invite, buddy? Yeah, guys, can you all check out the Rangers Journal? Yeah, big shout out for the Rangers Journal. Guys, one thing that I'm never afraid to do on this channel is shout out other channels, guys. One of the things that I've always said, we are a community. We are one family, and families support each other. Okay? Yeah, Scotty, if you want to come on Thursday night, drop me a message on my new Twitter. My new Twitter is @RangersNation08, buddy. So drop me a message. Stuart says, send him back to the Dingles. We are the people. Stuart, are you by any chance in West Brom country with that comment? Cortes, Sima on the wings, exciting. 10 million for both sounds decent to me, says David. Would give Hagi a season under Clement, see what he brings to the table. Hagi is finished at Ibrox with him bumming up the Spanish league and life over there. No worries. Scott, do you want to drop the link to your podcast in the live chat? I don't mind, buddy. Honestly, like I said, I am not like other podcasts. I'm not like that at all. What I want to do eventually, guys, is get as many podcasters to come on a final word with me, a post-match with me at the end after a game, like one of my good mates does on another channel for another team. So, I'd love to get Scotty on, Laura, Damien, all you guys on. The James from every other Saturday, get a lot of you on. The guy, David, I think it is, from the Ibrox channel. Get as many people on as possible. Scott, drop the link to your podcast in the live chat. I would have Hagi back, but I think he's finished at Rangers, says John. I'm sure there'll be much interest in Hagi, to be honest. Don't see him getting much from him at this point, says David. There's the link to Scott's podcast. Please click on it and give him a sub, please, after the podcast. Okay, so where are we up to with Hagi? 50-50 at the moment, guys. Keep voting. Look, back to Silva for a minute. I want to go back to Fabio. Fabio Silva, for me, is a no-brainer. Get rid of him. I absolutely he for me, has not settled in Scottish football at all. The biggest thing for me with Fabio Silva is he just chucks himself on the ground too much. We have the histrionics, the over dramatics. To me, that is not a Rangers player. That is not a Rangers player at all. 100% not a Rangers player. He just, to me, he needs to go back down the road. The other issue, of course, is that, you know, Wolves paid £35 million for Fabio Silva. Okay, they're not going to let him go for really cheap. Now, if we're going to spend 2.5 on Cortes, say 6 million or 7 million on Sima, that's 9.5 million. There is no way on God's green earth that we are then going to pay 10, 15 million, and that's a bargain price for him. You know, I just can't see that happening in the slightest. So for me, I just can't see it happening. I genuinely cannot see it happening, guys. I've just dropped the link again. Hopefully you get that. Yeah, so I genuinely, for me, Silva's got to go. Silva has got to go. Guys, I've dropped the link twice now, so hopefully you've found it by now on there. So we've got David says, Silva not for me. Don't think he's very good. Have done, mates. Says Scott. Silva, get rid. He's an embarrassment to Rangers, says John Lammy. I think a lot of people feel that way, John. Would drive Silva back myself, embarrassing our club with all the diving. I agree. I don't want to see that. You know, look, that's what Kyogo does. That's what Hatate does. That's what Maida does. That's not what we do at Rangers. Silva can't handle the physicality of the Scottish League. I agree. I think there's a lot of players who come up to Scotland and just think it's going to be a walk in the park. Just think it's going to be bloody easy, but it isn't. It's not. You know. So for me, no. Get rid, let him go. Bye-bye. Definitely not. Definitely not to Silva. Okay, so we come to Yanis Hagi. Look, Hagi, how are we feeling about Yanis Hagi? Let's have a quick check on the poll, how the poll is currently looking on the old Yanis Hagi. So 56% of you say yes, give him a chance next season. Now 58%, 42% say no, Hagi next season. Right, let's have a look at your arguments about Hagi. What have we got? So Hagi, somebody says too slow. Now, I think Clement will want to have a look at Hagi. I do think he will want to cast his eye over Yanis Hagi. But I just genuinely worry that Hagi is not going to get an opportunity in this team when you look at the players that are already there. So you look at the 10 role, okay? So we look at the 10 role. Do you play him in the 10 role? Well, there we've got Cantwell, we've got Lawrence, who will be there next season. We've got Diamande can play in the 10 role. So there's 3 players there that can play in the 10 role. Danilo can also play in the 10 role as well. Is Hagi going to get past Cantwell? Is he going to get past Lawrence? Is he going to get past Diamande? Probably not. So you could play Hagi in the double pivot, but then is he going to get past Raskin? Is he going to get past Diamande? Now, he's more a Diamande style player, but who would you rather have, Dio or Hagi? So I do think that is an interesting one. Hagi was played on the right wing, not his favourite position. Remember when Cantwell was played out there, people made excuses for him. Good point, Nicolas, stubborn there. Many countries do, but Scotland will never accept diving, says Blue Nose. Agreed. I'd love to see Tav's brother, knows our place in the net, and the boy from Coventry. Don't say that's Coventry, it's a swear word, Coventry. I'd love Hagi to come back and be brilliant, but he likes living in Spain. Stuart says, why would you take someone back who doesn't want to be here? He's enjoying his football. Let him go. Scott says, we need a core of Scottish players. Doesn't need to be starters. The leadership group is missing the likes of McGregor, Arfield and Davis. Scott, that's an excellent point. As I was saying on the video that I released earlier, we do need to bring back a core of Scottish players and not be, what's the word I'm looking for, snobbish about Scottish players. So Conor Barron, Lennon Miller, Lawrence Shankland, you know, those sorts of players. Is it Watson, the lad, or is it Armstrong? I can't remember the guy's name from Kilmarnock. Bringing these guys, bring a core Scottish group that understand Rangers, that understand the SPL. Now, you could have a situation like Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd was great in the SPL, crap in Europe. So it could be a case where, you know, Shankland and Armstrong or Watson, whatever he's called, Miller and Barron play in Scotland, but don't perhaps play in Europe as much. You know, that could be an option. But I do think, I agree with Scott, that we do need to bring in some leadership, some Scottish core to this team. Give him a chance. Clement will bring him on, as Clement is good man-to-man manager. Even if he doesn't start, I'd give him a go in the lineup. Lawrence is probably going to go in the summer, Lammers too. We won't have that many number 10, says Bluebells. Good shout. Chelsea are shambles, 3-0 to Arsenal. Guys, get on Twitter and slag Astrid Wet off. It's funny. All Hagi done was say he wants to play for Rangers and Beale kicked him out. Plus, he loves life in Spain. Hagi is done at Rangers. Ouch. We have a lot of pretty ball players, but no engine room, in my opinion. David Watson, thank you for that, Scott. I knew it was Watson or Armstrong. I think we'll bring in a 10. Clement likes a player in that position that can get serious numbers. Armstrong dives more than Silva. Go let some players and wages soon add up, says James Simpson. I agree. Guys, can you please smash the like on the video, obviously? So, look, Hagi, look, as much as it pains me to say it, I don't think he has a future at the club. I think he will be moved on the summer. I think we can generate some money for him. I think we can get a bit of cash for him. I genuinely do. I do think that's a possibility. Although you disagree with me, 59% of you want to give Hagi a chance next season. 41% of you don't want to give Hagi a chance next season. Okay, guys, we're going to run another poll while we talk about some different players here. So, start a poll. I'm going to start a poll, guys. Next one, I'm going to discuss whilst we talk about two other players. Is this one? Okay, I'll put this is my next poll. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move it along. Let's have a quick look at some more comments, guys, we've got from you. Is Paddy McNair a blue nose? Did you see the black player playing the flute at Portadown? I didn't actually. I think we should start a petition to get Arfield back and Hagi done good in UEFA. He did, Jason. Yeah, I'd love to get Scotty Arfield back, buddy. I'd love Scotty Arfield back. I don't mind signing Bob. Hey, Bob, how you doing, buddy? Top man, Bob. I don't mind signing Scottish players at all, as long as they're good enough Scottish players to help us beat Celtic. Good point. And I think Barron, Miller, and Shankland all could do that, buddy. Would love Arfield back. If someone said we were signing Shankland before we signed Dessers and Danilo, the fans would have went crazy. Sale Hagi for 3 million, get Armstrong or Alex Cochrane, says Kenneth Elliott. A good shout there. Or Watson, I think the guy's name is. Yeah, so let's move on. Lammers, I think, is a definite go. We've got to try and generate some extra money for Lammers. He's got to go. He has got to go. So if we can get 3 million for Lammers, which I think is a possibility, you know, I've seen the fact that Twente are interested in him, Utrecht are interested in him. So I do think there's a chance to sell Lammers. Lammers doesn't work in Scotland. So for me, Lammers is a definite yes, goodbye. Don't know if it's been said, but wouldn't mind bringing in Miovski and Barron next year, says Geordie. Geordie, Barron, I think, is a realistic option because he's out of contract. Miovski, I don't think is realistic because it's about £8 million for Miovski. That's the price I've heard. So I don't think that's going to be realistic. Not really bothered on Devine. Not seen enough of him. What I've seen, he looks bang average, says David. Sydney Devine must stay for our Scottish quotient, says John. So Lammers is gone. Sifu is another one that I would definitely get gone. Sifu, I think 2 million is what we've agreed with the Brazilian club. Would actually be making about £500,000 profit on him. So for me, that is a yes. That is a yes. I would be doing that. I've lost my poll on Devine. Maybe I didn't put it. I don't know. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, right, guys. So I want to start a different poll, right? Okay, let's have a look. And it has come up there. It just hasn't worked. I don't know why that hasn't worked. Let's just get rid of that poll for a minute. I want to start a new poll. Star poll. Here we go. Star poll. So my next poll I want to run is if I can get one to load. At the moment, YouTube is not letting me load my poll. Don't know why. Let's start this poll. Here we go. So this is the poll. Next poll. Okay. So my next poll is going up now. Here we go. So my next poll, this player is out of contract in 2026. Connor Goldson, do you keep him or do you sell him? What do you do with Connor Goldson, guys? Let me know, okay? What do you do with Connor Goldson? Do you keep Connor Goldson or do you sell Connor Goldson? That is the question. What's the consensus with bringing in young Beck back either on loan or on a permanent if the money is right? I've been very impressed with him at Dundee. Bluebells, that's a brilliant shout. That could be the option now that Hefte's gone. Absolutely. I agree. That could be a brilliant option, mate. An absolutely great shout. Absolutely great shout. Bluebells, didn't we try and get him back in January and he wasn't for going anywhere? Or I think it was a Liverpool thing that was, Joy. Liverpool didn't want to let him go because at that point, both their left backs were injured. I'd love to get rid of Goldson, but no one wants him. Nope. Get rid tomorrow, says Cabby. Sell, he was on the decline when we made a mistake of giving him a new 3-year deal. Goldson has to go. We need to look. I would personally get rid of Connor Goldson for the reason that it would free up about £37,000 to £40,000 a week in wages. With Goldson, for me, it is a worry because he looks to be going backwards. He looks to be slowing down. His passing is all over the place. Now, I don't know whether you've seen the interview that's doing the rounds at the moment on Twitter as regards Connor Goldson, but Goldson gave an interview to a podcast channel. And on that, he said that he doesn't even bother talking to the young lads anymore because they don't listen to him, because they just ignore him, because they're a different generation to him. Now, this guy's the vice captain of Rangers Football Club. He should be making more of an effort with those young players. He really genuinely should. To hear him saying on that podcast that he can't speak to the younger players, for me, is just a shocking admission by a player. The guy's vice captain of this team. He needs to be leading by example, talking to those kids. That's not a leadership attitude. And to say that in a podcast is shocking from Connor Goldson. Absolutely shocking. Has to go. Yeah, absolutely. Goldson has to go take what we can get for him. Yeah, agreed. After Balogun, 1-year extension straight away. Agreed. P. Curry has seen the podcast. What was your take on it, P. Curry? Goldson should have been sold after he cost us the European final. That's crazy money for the level of performance we get for him, says David. I'd rather have Goldson than Scales any day of the week. I'm not saying, thing is, Nicholas, I am not saying get Scales. I'm saying get rid of Goldson and get somebody else in. I would keep Suter and Balogun and bring in 2 others. Suter and Balogun stay as backups, and you bring in 2 starting centre-halves for me. And he's on big wages, agreed. I listened to the whole 90-minute podcast. He's been taken out of context. Agree he should go, though, says Bluebells. The Hampden defeat v Hibs says it all. As a vice captain, that attitude is rotten. Like I said, I don't think that Goldson has a future at the club. His passing is off. He's conceding the same goal now for 2 seasons. He's getting done over the top with pace. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Goodbye, Connor Goldson. He's got to go. He really does genuinely need to go. At the moment, we are running at 14% say yes to keeping him. 86% of you would love to get rid of Connor Fairs with that. Okay, so guys, how much would a decent centre back cost times 2? It depends who we go for. It depends who you go for, buddy. Depends who you go for. Who is going to? But with Goldson, you cut your losses. Cut your losses. Hey, that's my daughter. Hi, Becca. Love you very much. How you doing, Becca? Love you to bits. That's my daughter, Rebecca. My oldest daughter, my dancing star, my national champion dancer, Becca there. Leadership is non-existent in that dressing room, says David. When was the last time Goldson scored from a header, says Stuart? Good point, Stuart. We will struggle to get rid of Goldson. He will need to accept a 3rd spot for me. To be fair, he is a boring big lad. I wouldn't listen to him either. Evening, Trips. Evening, Stephen. Evening, buddy. I've seen his interview. Goldson's attitude is rotten. He should be taking the young players under his wing and helping them. Janet says hi to Becca. Hi, Becca. Becca's my 16-year-old daughter, my superstar. So we've got some decisions to make as well as regards some other players, who are out of contract in 2025. So that the players that are out of contract in 2025 are as follows. I'm going to bring it up on screen in a minute. We'll have a quick discussion about them before we head off for the night, because it's getting on now in time and I need to walk the dog and I've got to get up at 4:45 in the morning to go to work. But we need to make some decisions as regards these players because of the fact they are out of contract next season. And I don't want to be in a situation where, again, next summer, we are looking at players and saying, look, yay, Becca, big up the Rangers, says Becca, big up the Rangers. She's turning into Bevo. Rangers are too nice a team. We need some Sooners and Herlocks in the team, says Blue Nose. Agree. I think we brought him back on a free. Thanks, Aldo. I do try to be funny. I don't know if Becca would agree with you. Anyway, so these are the players who were out of contract in 2025. Tom Lawrence, Scott Wright, Robbie McCrory, Alex Lowry, Kieran Wright. So for me, you've got some decisions to make on these players, okay? What do you do with them? Because at the end of the day, you've got to make a decision now. Extend or not? That's the question. Extend or not, okay? Aldo, who's your team, buddy? Who's your team? I haven't got that problem. My team's out this year. Lawrence, Wright, McCrory, Lowry, Wright, Kieran Wright. Bob Steele says, if we do get rid of Goldson, I hope we don't replace him with another player with a 50p heed. Great shout, Bob. Look, I honestly... Oh, thanks, Becca. Thanks, Becca. Not extend, mate. Okay. Sell any of them you can. Yeah, Stephen. So thank you for that, Cabby. Yeah. I mean, Bobby McCrory, I might be trying... If we sell Butland, I would try and keep McCrory. That's the one I would try and keep. But yeah, if any bids come in for any of those, I would accept. Kieran Wright, I'd probably give a new contract to, because he's quite happy being a third string goalkeeper. You do need a third string goalkeeper. He is Scottish after all. But Scott Wright, I would allow to go. The one thing we've got to kind of think about though here, guys, and this just to sort of bring this to a close tonight, is this one. Okay. So let me just close my Goldson poll. So my Goldson poll says 16% of you say keep, 84% say sell. Sell Goldson. Okay. Good shout there. Good shout. I'm going to run one more poll as we bring this podcast to a close. Okay. So this is my last poll, guys. I'm going to run tonight. Is this one? Okay. So this is if we could afford. One. If you could afford, who would you buy? And my options tonight are going to be, here we go. These are the options. So here is the last poll that's going up, guys. This is the last poll that's going up for tonight. Okay. This is the last poll that's going up. Let's start the poll off. Here we go. So if you could afford, who would you buy? Shankland, Miovski, or neither? There's the question. I think the one thing, you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, Connor McDavid is a fantastic player. Although my favourite team are the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby is my favourite player, but unfortunately we didn't make the playoffs this year. Keep Lawrence, get rid of the rest. Like Lawrence if he stays fit, says Janet. McCrory will be off if he has any sense. 5-0 to Arsenal. Chelsea are not a disgrace. McCrory must leave Rangers if he wants first team football. Butland is not, hands down. Like I said, I think a lot does depend on what happens with Jack Butland. If we were to accept a 25 million pound bid for him, I think there is a chance that Robbie could get some first team football. Get Aberdeen player Garterman for Goldson. That's a good shout, Kenneth. That's a decent shout, buddy. I think the issue we've got is that, we could clear all these players out. And I accept there's a lot of players we could clear out. And I think there is room to clear a lot. I mean, the squad is about 28 at the moment. So there is an awful lot of chance to clear these players out. But the problem is we can't afford to turn over the amount of players that we need to. I can't see the board committing a massive sum of money to replace all these players. That is the one thing that I do worry about. He would sign Miovski if money wasn't an issue. I suspect he will end up with them. CGM, he's Jewish. Miovski, I'm sure he's Jewish. And if he's Jewish, why is he going to want to go to Celtic? Neither, mate. Got to trust Coppermore pick us a gem or two at number 9. Watch this space. Miovski over Shankland for me, but think he'll be priced out of a move. We should have gone for Shankland in January. Hope we get him in the summer, says Bob. Janet says Miovski gives us more than Shankland, in my opinion. Well, guys, thank you for coming on the pod tonight. Been fantastic. Thank you again to John, who donated £5 to the channel. Thank you so much for that, John. That was very generous of you and does help with the running of the channel. All super chats, super stickers go towards helping to run the channel. So thank you for that. Guys, we're going to call it a podcast for tonight. We're coming up for the hour mark. Thank you for your fantastic involvement. I didn't know. I said, I'm only guessing. It's something I read the other day, CGM, that I think he could be Jewish. I'm not 100%. I'm going to research it, but I'm 99% certain that he's Jewish. So yeah, he wouldn't go to them in that case. Look at Leela Badder. So was a Badder, but he went to them. Yeah, but Geordie, he wants out now, doesn't he? Badder wants out big time from them, given all this love for Hamas they've had. No new players forward. Fotis Iandis and Luka Jovic, says Kenneth Elliott. Great stream. Thank you very much. So guys, thank you for this. I want to do something different to normal, just to kind of, talk about something different, talk about a little bit of, rather than the games, just talk about the players, talk about, who is going to go, who is going to stay. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Janet, for that. So David, see, it's not just me. Even if you know Jewish, why would you go there? Agree, Stephen, agree. Okay, guys, thank you so much for the podcast tonight. Thank you for your comments, your involvement. Thank you for jumping in all the polls. Hope you've enjoyed voting and taking part in the polls. Let's have a look at the final results. So 67%. No, what was changed again? Oh, it keeps moving. I'm going to leave it up for a minute. 43% Shankland, 43% Miovski, 13% neither. Now gone to 40% Shankland, 47% Miovski, 12%. Oh, it's all going. I'm going to leave that poll just for a little bit to run at the end of the pod. Best wishes to you and your lassie, Owen. Thank you very much, Bob. Night chat. Abada plays at Arfield now, says Blue Nose John. And later on. Guys, if you can, please smash the like on the way out. And as always, if you haven't subbed, please sub. Remember always, we are the people.